Hey, this is Jeff. Welcome to another one of my videos in my Discovering Kelowna series. I moved to Kelowna last year and made the personal challenge to personally explore all 203 city and regional parks within the city limits within 1 year, and it's going really well. I'm getting near the end. Today, I am in John's Family Conservancy Regional Park. So there'll only be one park today, but it's a big one. And I always love the regional parks. I had a couple of explorations in Mission Creek Park. It was great. Bertram Creek Park was great. There's been a few others and they've all been awesome. So what's the story with John's Family Conservancy Park? Well, this is a park on the south side of Kelowna. It's on the south slopes. So we're kind of halfway up the south slopes and we are right in the middle of a patch of territory that was completely burned in the Okanagan Mountain Fire of 2003. So if you look around behind me there's no tall trees. They all got cleared out. It was about 17 years ago. New trees are coming in. You can probably see some small pine trees behind me. So it's exciting to see that regeneration process. We're past the first stage. Got some trees coming in that'll someday be canopy trees. It's very exciting. Another cool thing about this park is the geology. There's some really cool hills here. The whole south slope of Kelowna was kind of smeared southwards by the glacier. So if I turn, maybe you can see a hill over there. You see how they're kind of sloped on the north side, and then they have cliffs on the south side. And that has made this park one of the top destinations for rock climbing in Kelowna. So I'm not going to do any rock climbing today. I'm just going to travel on the major paths in the park, but we'll have a look if we get some good views of those cliffs. They're called the Crags, and they're quite popular, I understand. Anyway, this land used to be a small regional park called Cedar Mountain, because before the fire, there were actually a lot of cedar trees that grew up here around the wetlands. The dominant species were ponderosa pine and Douglas fir, and that's what I see coming back. But there's also some precious wetlands in this park because we are basically going to travel today from the Lebanon Creek watershed over to the other side of the park where the Bertram Creek watershed is. So I did a video a while ago down north of here on the lake shore, and I saw Bertram Creek Park. And I also saw the start of the Lebanon Creek Greenway. So you hike up Lebanon Creek, and that Greenway ends here in John's Family Conservancy. So from the Cedar Mountain Park, about 10 years ago, this park was expanded over 6 times to become the John's Family Conservancy that it is today. So that's because this land used to be ranched by the Johns family, and in his will, Alf Johns left the land to be a park for the preservation of wildlife. So that means the park is 6 times as big as it used to be. It means a huge part of the south slopes here is protected, a part between Okanagan Mountain Provincial Park to the west and eventually Myra Bellevue Provincial Park to the east. There is some hope that someday there'll be more protection, and that the south slopes will be have a continuous corridor from east to west, where you can explore, and where, more importantly, animals can thrive, the animals that have always lived here. Wildlife does live in this park. Just on the way here, I saw a deer, I've seen many swallows, and I hope to see more and to share with you what I find. Because it is, in part, a wildlife preserve, a large part of the park is not open to the public. There's not any official trails there. So what we have is we have a trail that goes across the south side of the park. Goes from east to west, from this parking lot where I am standing, on the east side, all the way over to the western border, where they hope someday to connect the trail to Okanagan Mountain Park. So let's go, come along with me, and we'll see what we can see in the John's Family Conservancy Regional Park. I'm just inside the east side of the park, and we come to our first valley, our first creek. This is Lebanon Creek, of course. And I just wanted to point out that it's exciting. You know, one of the things that happened when the fire came through is that all the cover that the shrubs and things provide to these creeks was burned away, and the creeks were very exposed, which is really harsh for the creek ecosystems. They like to have shade, you know, to regulate the water temperature and for all the little bugs and fish and things to live their best lives. So it's really exciting to see that these shrubs are back and that there's shade on the creek. And I know it's not long before everything else comes back too. Hey, so here I am at the next feature, not too far away from the last feature. This is the south end of Lebanon Creek Greenway. So I'm not doing greenways as part of this challenge, but I've now seen the south end where it starts down by the lake, off Lake Shore, and here's the north end. And it looks like a lovely path, runs roughly north to south along the creek. It's basically a slope the whole way. So if you want a nice climb up into these hills, you can take the Lebanon Creek Greenway. Hey, so here I am, further down the trail, not too far, at what is perhaps the most developed part of the park. This is a place where a couple trails meet up, and there's actually a washroom, which is great. And you can see behind me, you got a good view of the Crags. Like I said before, it's a very popular rock climbing spot. Any of you who are into rock climbing might be drooling right now, I'm not sure. But there's like 12 or 13 routes that have been worked out on that face there. And yeah, people come from all over the region to climb there. So they say in the summertime it's not as busy because with the heat and the exposure and the sun, it can be quite a pain, literally. But you know, other times of the year, spring and fall, there'll be more people climbing on the rocks. Hey, so I'm a little farther into the park. I'm about a third of the way across the park. And I just wanted to point out this junction here. It says private driveway. That is the road that leads to the old homestead where Alf and Nancy Johns lived. And those buildings are all still there, but they are not open to the public. That whole area is in the part of the park that is put aside for conservation. So those are park buildings now, not open to you and me. And that's fine, because there's a lot of this park that is glorious. For example, we have a great view here of the Crags. And it's funny to me, it's fun to think about how, you know, up until 17 years ago, there's a forest and we wouldn't be able to have this view. And then the fire came through, cleared those trees, and now this amazing view is there. And in 10 years, the trees behind me might be big enough that that view is obscured a little bit. And that's the way it goes. So it's fun to go out and see places, see how they change, and come back in subsequent years and see what they look like then. So just before we start heading downhill into the Bertram Valley, which you can see down there, I just wanted to point out a few things about this view because it is beautiful. Over here, of course, we can see West Kelowna. You can see Mount Boucherie there and the vineyards and suburbs that are down below it. And then, of course, if we go this way, we see more of West Kelowna. You can see Gelatly down there, and then past that enormous hill, which I need to learn the name of, we can see Peachland. And you know, a lot of the spots I've been to in Kelowna, you don't get a good view of Peachland because you're up past the bend in the lake, and all you can see is Okanagan Mountain, and then you can't see around the corner there. So here it is, Okanagan Mountain. Around the corner there is more of Okanagan Mountain Park. This is actually a good chance to see that smearing that I was talking about before. I don't know if you can tell, all these little crags and things, they're all kind of smeared to the south, right? They're kind of smooth by the glacier, and then on the south side, they just kind of fall off into cliffs where the glacier continued on to the south and plucked boulders from their south side as it went. So it's a really neat look. I always think it's kind of like a Dr. Seussy look, but I hope you like it too. So I have made it to Bertram Creek. You can hear it babbling away behind me. You can see the huge cottonwood tree. You know it's wet. Yes, we've made it all the way from the Lebanon Creek Valley all the way to the Bertram Creek Valley, which is great. And all along the way there, we were slowly descending this old gravel road, and it was paralleling this deep valley with precious wetlands at the bottom. It was gorgeous. And now I gotta climb up a little bit to get to the western border of the park, and then I will have done the whole length of this trail. Something else I wanted to show you. If I turn around, you can see the Crags now end on. So that gives you a sense of how far I've hiked today. And of course I gotta go all the way back. Well, I made it. Here I am at the far western edge of the park. I am literally at the end of the trail. I know beyond me, behind me, is Forest Service land, and past that is Okanagan Mountain Provincial Park. And someday, with enough resources from the right places, this trail may be continued to reach that park. And that would be wonderful. It would be a connection in a network of parks along the south slope. From Bertram Creek, I hiked up onto the edge of the Bertram Creek ravine and climbed up to this point. There's a spot here for a bench to be put in, but the bench has not been put in. Luckily, there's an old bench. I don't know how old, but that was kind of fun to see. I also saw some wildlife. I saw some birds of prey circling overhead. That's always fun on a hot day. And I saw a couple of deer that wouldn't let me get too close to them. And I saw some ground squirrels, which is always fun. I saw one standing sentry. That was really fun. I really liked that. So I made it all the way to the other side of the park. It was 3.5 kilometers. And now I'm gonna go back. Hey, so I'm about halfway back. As you can see behind me there, I'm back near the west end of the Crags. And so that trail behind me is where I came from. That heads to the western half of the park. And let me tell you, that western half, I didn't see anyone else on the trail. It's farthest away from the parking lot, and I think it's maybe the least used part of the park. Now that I'm back towards the Crags, I could hear some human voices again. Now, when I came this way, I came down that trail there. But now, I'm gonna go back along this trail. This is the Crags Trail. It wanders along the bottom of the valley here at the base of the Crags. So before I was up on that ridge, and now I'm going back along the base, and it makes kind of a loop. And, I want to travel all the trails. So I'm gonna take this trail, it's gonna connect with the Lebanon Creek Trail, and that'll take me back to the parking lot. Well, that was my walk for today. It was a big one, 7 kilometers at least, hiking through John's Family Conservancy Regional Park. It was a beautiful park. That's a big enough park that that's my whole week, but it was worth it. I had a really good time. I explored the whole width of the park. I explored all the way past the Crags, down all the way from Lebanon Creek over to Bertram Creek, and then up a little ways to the end of the trail, and it was super beautiful. On the way back, I took the Crags trail at the base of the Crags. I saw lots of little chipmunks and fireweed and all sorts of beautiful things. I heard some ravens and some hawks keening, and there's a lot of wildlife here. That's why when you come here, you have to keep your dog on a leash, because you know, the dog can be a threat to the wildlife. So this is all about wildlife and the natural spaces here, and it's worth it, and it's beautiful. I'd love to come back in a few years, 5, 10, and see how the pine trees are growing in and how everything looks different. When you come, it might look different than when I was here. So it'll be an adventure for a long time to come. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed what I showed you today. I hope it made you think about visiting John's Family Conservancy Regional Park or some other beautiful regional park in this or your area. And if you did like it, feel free to subscribe to this channel. I got more videos coming up. I haven't seen them all yet. And you know, if you like this video, hit the like button. Thank you for watching, and I hope I see you next week.